Picture your grandma's house. Now imagine 3 generations crammed under one roof at the same time. That wasn't some cute family tradition, that was flat-out survival. For most of American history, getting old didn't mean packing up and moving out. It meant digging in even deeper. There was no retirement home waiting around the corner, no fancy assisted living complex with a manicured lawn and a welcome committee. If you got old back in early America, you stayed right where you'd always been. In the house you build with your own hands, surrounded by the family you raised. This wasn't some lifestyle choice on a Pinterest board, it was the only game in town. Think about that for a sec. Old age used to mean staying the boss, not getting shoved to the side. In colonial America, elderly folks actually ran the show. The oldest person in the house usually controlled the land, the cash, and the big decisions. Historian David Hackett Fisher dug into these family setups and found something wild. Age wasn't some liability you had to deal with, it was straight-up power you got to inherit. Grandparents weren't just crashing at the house, they were the glue holding the whole thing together. But hold up, it wasn't all sunshine and rocking chairs. This wasn't some golden age where everybody automatically respected their elders. It was more like a deal. You took care of your parents because you expected your kids to do the same for you down the line. Everybody knew the rules. Skip your turn, and the whole thing could come crashing down. So, what happened if someone had no kids, no land, no family left to catch them? This is where it got rough. Poorhouses, almshouses, places built specifically to warehouse elderly folks who had absolutely nowhere else to go. Historian David Wagner dug up records showing these places often threw the elderly with the mentally ill, the disabled, and the flat-out destitute, all packed into the same falling-apart buildings. Getting old without family wasn't just lonely, it could straight up ruin you. You're starting to see it now, right? Family wasn't just love, it was your insurance policy. Everything flipped in the early 1900s. Cities blew up, factories yanked young folks off the farm and into the city for work, and suddenly that whole multi-generational household thing started falling apart at the seams. Grown kids bounced for jobs, elderly parents got left behind in houses way too big and way too quiet. Then the Great Depression hit, and it wrecked everything. Millions of elderly Americans lost their life savings overnight. There was no safety net to catch them. Sociologist Carol Haber studied this era and called elderly poverty in the 1930s a full-blown national crisis, not just some unlucky side effect. People in their 70s were out on the street begging. Families that used to take care of their elders simply couldn't afford it anymore. Something had to give, and in 1935, it finally did. Social Security showed up, and for the first time ever, getting old in America came with an actual guarantee. Not a huge one, but something. Still, that only fixed the money problem. Somebody still had to do the actual work. Feeding, bathing, staying up all night to check on them. That labor didn't just vanish, it quietly landed on women's shoulders. Daughters and daughters-in-law became this invisible workforce holding up an aging generation, mostly unpaid and totally overlooked. Nursing homes like we know them today weren't really a thing yet, not until the 1950s and 60s when Medicare and Medicaid completely rewired the system. All of a sudden, there was actual funding for institutional elder care, and almost overnight, a whole private industry sprang up around it. Getting old stopped being a family thing, it became a business. And here's the twist nobody talks about. That shift wasn't all bad. Professional care meant medical support that families simply couldn't pull off at home. It meant a safety net for elderly folks who genuinely had nobody left. But something quieter got lost along the way too. That old, unspoken deal. The one where getting old meant you called the shots. Where grandma's house was mission control for the whole family, not just a place you swung by twice a year. So think about it. For most of human history, getting old meant becoming the center of your family's whole world. Now, for a lot of people, it just means a scheduled visit. That's not a diss on anybody, it's just a trade nobody actually voted on. Convenience over closeness, professional care over showing up every day. And somewhere in that swap, something ancient quietly slipped through the cracks. So, next time you drive by your grandma's house, take a second look. It's not just a building, it's the last standing piece of a system that used to hold everybody together.